Hey everybody, Hunter Otis here with Tim Uchuk and the Perfect Week Method. Happy to have Dan Hewson here on video with me here to chat about his
Hi,
experience. Hey Dan, how you doing?
good. How are you?
Really good. It's good to have
Awesome.
you here. Just seriously
Likewise.
appreciate you hopping on. It's really great reconnecting with you and talking about your experience and
Yeah. Happy
just share
Friday
with
to
the world.
you. It's exciting to be here.
Yeah, yeah, it's good to have you. Thank you. Thanks again. So Dan is an audiologist, actually. So he's got a practice and he's got a bunch of stuff, kind of cool stuff going on. So we'll let him kind of fill us in. But why don't you jump in, just introduce yourself, tell us who
Okay.
you are, tell us a little bit about, well, your family, your life, just a little snippet, just so we can see the human.
Okay.
And
A
yeah, and then
human
tell us
behind the
about what you do.
machine. Yeah. No, my name is Dan O'Hewson. I've been practicing for 25 years in audiology. We have our own practice, my wife and I do, in Phoenix, Arizona. We have 3 locations out here, and we have currently 16 employees. And I've been not only practicing for 25 years, but I've been wearing hearing aids myself for 43 years. So it's not just what I do, it's what I live. So very much about education based and really just helping our patients understand the real root of hearing loss and memory loss and balance issues. And there's just so many things that are not discussed in the medical field of what we do. And it's not just about hearing aids. And that's where we really kind of focus on, and just helping people understand that is take the time to really educate people. And so our practice started about 6 years ago in October of 2015, and we started working in our one little office in Glendale, Arizona. And about a year later, we expanded to Surprise, and then a year later, we expanded into Goodyear, and we just been kind of managing that thing. And then, of course, COVID hit, and things had to be reorganized. And I am a father of 3. I have 2 girls, a 16-year-old and a 13-year-old, and a 9-year-old son. And my wife and I work in the same business, so she is my cohort in this whole thing, and she's amazing. She is everything I'm not. And so she just really makes a tremendous asset to the company. And it's really, people always get worried about working together with your wife in your company. I couldn't imagine not having her in my company, quite honestly. She's just a stalwart to, just where I am so weak at. She just really is a provider, in making this whole company work better. And what's really cool is just seeing her grow and develop. And she is, her skill set is limitless. So that's really cool.
Yeah.
So yeah, we have 3 bulldogs, old English bulldogs. So they're amazing. We have 2, 1, and a puppy. So we really we're only going to have 1. And then these people we got it from had litters every year and decided to bring their puppy over to us and show
That's
us the puppy.
dangerous.
And the puppy never left.
Yeah, you can't bring puppies over because they don't leave.
No, and I kind of got outvoted every time, 4-1,
Yeah,
for the next puppy and the next puppy that came in. So the good news is the lady is not going to have a litter next year, so we don't have to worry about that.
good. There you go.
Yeah. So that's a
Well,
little bit about us and our practice and so forth.
yeah, fantastic. So jump into kind of, well, so you've got multiple locations and then you've got another venture that you've got
Yes.
started as well. But why don't you tell us first, just what were things like before you met us? Because we talked back in July last year of
Yeah.
2020.
Yep. Yep.
So you
That's
jumped in
correct.
July of 2020. So what were things like beforehand? Where were the pain points at for you? What was going on that just, made you want to make a
Yeah.
change?
Well, I think just like with everybody, for the majority of people out there and running businesses, there was just no direction. There was no clear cut understanding. We had gone through just before COVID, and I'm talking just before, like weeks before, we had a practice administrator that moved to a hospital setting. And so she left us, and we also let a provider go, and he was our number 1 selling provider. He was phenomenal at what he did. And we had to make some changes. There was some conflict and some issues internally. And then a week later, so this was 1 week this, 1 week this, and then the next week was COVID. And then of course, the after effects of all of that. So we have been growing every year over year prior to coming on board with this. The problem that we had is my wife and I were very good at what we do in our elements. We did not go to school to run a company. We go to school to take care of patients. And that is not
Right.
something that we learn how to do. My wife is very good at marketing and billing and credentialing and so forth. And again, and I'm great at what I do in my day in and day out with patients, but we're both not business development people. So what ended up happening was after the practice administrator left and then COVID hit, it was a panic. It was a total panic and not knowing what to do and just having guidance and direction. I didn't know numbers. I mean, I could look it up. I didn't know QuickBooks. I had an accountant for that. I had people for that, was the way I looked at that, bookkeepers and accountants. And then when COVID hit, it was just kind of utter chaos because it was like we wanted to just shed as much, of expenses as we could. And we had to learn some things from all of that, obviously. And so as time went on, the months went on, we got down from 24 employees down to 6 at that time. And we kind of, just kind of started getting a ground basis. I mean, there's nothing better that could have happened to us than what occurred, because it made us realize I have 3 locations, I have 6 employees, and that's not easy to run in that regard. But we had to go everything more part-time and so forth. And so I was looking for more guidance and leadership, I think, than anything, to really get a gauge of what can really help me to understand more in my business and what I can do. And I was looking around at different things because I just needed a mentor. I needed somebody who could really look at, say, hey, you need to do this, this, and this, something that had steps to it. And I had looked at, as I said, a couple of different things, and I stumbled on Tim, and I, watched him. He was talking about, different elements of the business, and just, how do I make my job easier and work more efficiently? And I just bought into that, and it just really made logical sense, because I felt like I was trapped. I felt like I was never getting anywhere, and that here I am. I had big dreams and big visions of things I was going to do. And it just seemed like all of a sudden I was stripped down to nothing, and I was never going to achieve those things again. It was kind of scary, because it was just kind of like, well, how are we going to pay the rent? How are we going to pay this? And how are we going to pay that? So this isn't, we built up such a great practice. And when you don't have guidance, and it's like I have an HR person that I use, and she's like, well, what's the bottom line for your company? One day she just threw that at me. What's your bottom line? I'm like, I have no idea. I have no business sense at all. I have no sense of running a business because I have no business sense, right? And so I think with Tim, I think there was just that connection of just, okay, let's look at this step by step. Don't get overwhelmed. Just take one segment at a time, take one video at a time. And I'm a dissector, so I have to really look at those things and just, how do I make it practical for our business? And then again, it's just been just such an awesome element of just kind of taking the things that I've learned from him and just really just implementing it into the practice. And I still haven't completed the whole program, as I have said, but that's okay, because I really wanted to marinate and soak into that, because I really looked at all the key factors to really make the business run better. So now we're back up to, with implementing the system, we're back up to 16 employees. So we really are where we need to be at the moment, and so forth. So it's a little bit about what occurred, but I'm excited because the things that we've implemented are really going to make our lives much better, as I've said before.
Yeah. So you were at 24 employees, then things dissolved.
Yeah.
3 locations.
Totally.
So you're running 3 locations with 6 people.
Yes.
I mean, even with the full staff, running multiple locations is stressful, right? Especially when you don't have the systems in place, because you're now you're like having to divide yourself in 3 and trying to be in 3 places all at one time.
Well, fortunately, for the majority, we kept our providers. We had to furlough one of them, which was very difficult to do. And what I'll say from all of that experience, it just made me realize my wife and I had to really get serious, and we were very fortunate to get where we got to in our company, and to have 3 locations, and getting into several $1 million in sales and so forth. But we had no idea where it was going. We really weren't saving. We were just hiring people during this period of time prior to COVID. Right. We just had no structure, and it was like, wow, this is like a never-ending process. There was no end game. And I think that's the key in a business. You need to know, where are we going with this? As Wayne Gretzky would say, where is the puck going? Knowing where it's going to actually go, and just being aware of that direction. And we didn't have any. So I think that's what Tim really brought into me, is just, okay, let's strip it down. Where are you at? And it was just, having a mentor, just really being able to make it as simple and easy to understand. And again, I think what's been nice is, if you have questions, very happy to get back to you on that, and just having a forum to be able to, no matter how stupid the question is, And what's really kind of cool, sometimes some of the things have been brought up where something was changed in the program. And I've seen that a number of times where, the program will add that into they'll add something into the program because somebody asked a question about it. And I really love that it's a willingness to adapt the program, and it's really nice.
Yeah. Yeah. So tell us about results. What's the cold hard results? What's
Yeah.
what are things like now? Yeah. What's the
Yeah.
change?
Yeah, we had our second best January ever. And audiology is a very specialty field because it's all related to hearing aids and balance in our case, and memory loss and tinnitus, ringing in the ears and things like that. And I think the key is with COVID, obviously a lot of people have been very nervous about it. Arizona has been a state where there's been a lot of people that were hesitant to get out because there are a lot of older people that do live here, obviously snowbirds and so forth. Even with the months of the winter here, this is usually our killing time traditionally, and over year over year, when you're looking at these things, it's amazing for us, we've gotten better results. We've gotten smarter about how we take care of patients and how we're seeing patients and how we're getting the patients in the door. That's what's really exciting about that. But I think the implementation of just knowing where things are, where the money is, knowing where the numbers are, having processes put into place with using the organization of the Trello, which is there's a lot of layers there, putting together an employee manual on Trello. And so every employee gets a Trello manual board so that anytime there's any issues, I have videos that I've done on that so that they can go back through and look at everything, and you're not doing the same thing over and over again. The staff, that my leadership, having team meetings. We have our weekly meetings for 1 hour. We just had it just before this video. Just kind of, what's on top of mind, where are we going with this, where are things happening, where have we been, where are we now, where are we going, just like with the quarterly meetings. I mean, it just keeps you focused. And I think that's the key of the program, is the program just keeps you focused. And I feel really good about where we are. And we just got to a point where in the company, I've always had desires to go further with growing things, have the visions of doing that, but I was always limited because I didn't have the time. And I think that at the end of the day, that's where I wanted to do things. I have visions of what I can do. And so we were presented an idea late last year of potentially joining another practice and becoming a partner in an ear, nose, and throat clinic in South Carolina. And what's been really cool is that we've been able to kind of continue to grow that. So develop that to a point where I had the time to be able to go do that. And now I go out there monthly. My wife and I are running that as well, in addition to, so that just started January 4th. So that's brand new baby in that regards, but we're already in the black. So we're way ahead already where our target was in the first month, which is amazing. And our company here in Arizona is as well. So just going from one, like if you asked me a year ago, would I've ever thought we'd be where we are right now? I couldn't even imagine. To go from thinking we're going under to 6 employees to possibly less, to just my wife and I, just to be able to see the changes in the company going now getting closer to $3 and $4 million for a business, is getting up to a higher number. So the key is just seeing, when we're doing, maybe I should say about 2 million to about 3 to 4 million is amazing in a year, to be able to see what we're doing with that. It's a lot of hard work, setting processes, keeping, on top of the numbers, understanding QuickBooks and understanding your numbers. The spreadsheets that Tim has brought up did not work for me. However, we made changes and it did work for me. And your team was very helpful in kind of reorganizing, because I didn't understand it. It wasn't because it didn't work, it's because I didn't understand all the numbers. And
right.
But as you learn, I love the idea we talk about, just strip it down, make it what works for best for you, so you understand and learn it. And so just the organization of things has been so helpful.
Yeah, no, it's so cool to see. And it's cool to have that feeling of like the self-actualization with it, right? Like, it's cool to have a successful business, but to be able to feel like you're really able to make a dent and an impact with, the thing that you're passionate about as well. It's like, a lot of times the first goal is to get in the black, right?
Yes.
Because that's necessary. That needs to happen. But once we do that, and when the systems are all dialed in and everyone's firing on all cylinders and your team is really executing, man, it's fun. It is fun because the amount of
it's exciting. When I was doing our numbers this morning, as I haven't had time to do that, but just looking at that and seeing what we've done the month of January, which is, these first 3, 4 months, 5 months are big months for us typically, for what we do. And it was just really kind of comforting. In a COVID year, we're still 4,000 or 5,000 cases a day here in Arizona, and the deaths are still very high. And it's just such an amazing thing for the team. And I think we have our best team we've ever had. We have a leadership team, front office staff, back office providers, billing, and I'm challenging my wife to do more. I think I'm trying to get her to develop her own billing and credentialing company, because she has the talent, she has the wherewithal to do that, and just challenging her to do that. And it's, she's learned a lot because I implemented this into the business. There's still, like I said, there's still a lot of things that I need to implement, but I think you mentioned something about having, you have to have the structure and the processes, but you also, good to be in block, but sometimes before you're ever there, you have to set that foundation so that you can prepare to lift off. Because I think what we did before, we didn't have a foundation. And I think what Tim brought, really, quite honestly, to us, he brought a foundation. He gave me a platform. He gave me the foundation with the program to really realize I need a springboard, because I didn't feel confident enough. If somebody came in and asked me, well, if somebody came and say, I want to buy your business, how much is it worth? Okay, well, I can tell you what we did last year. Net, prop P&Ls, balance sheets, all of that. I mean, it's just maybe a lot of people who are listening are very good about that stuff. But I bet my bottom dollar is a lot of people who come into this program don't know this stuff. And I think that's what's just so wonderful. It just really strips it down. And just take the time. I think another thing what he always talked about is taking business development time. Just take time to work on the business, and I implement that daily almost in my business, where I was seeing patients from Monday to Friday, 8 till 6. I mean, no lunch, just straight through patients all day long. And then you go home, get the kids, and they work on the business later at the end of the day. I get up we're very well known at waking up at 2 or 3 in the morning, our time, and work till we go to work. So that's when the kids are sleeping, the dogs are pretty quiet, we get work done. And it just gets to a point where we're not anywhere further. And that's the frustration. The purpose of the program is, how do we organize your time better? And it's just, now we still do that because that's how we are, but now we're working on 2 businesses instead of 1. And it's really kind of cool.
Yes. And I think you're hitting on something really important there. It's like the more hours, we tend to put in more hours because we're behind or need to play catch up, whatever, right? But then we think, we have this delusional thinking that if I put in more hours, I'm going to get caught up. And then we need to do. No. And the business just adapts. It just becomes accustomed to you putting in more time.
Yes.
And because really, if you're putting in that much more time, it means that we either need better systems or we need more people and to be able to help us with those things. And so that stuff's not going to go away, and that's where we have to turn it on its head, and we, start small and just reclaim a little bit of time to be able to focus on the bigger picture stuff and lay that foundational work. Otherwise, the business will just continue to use us and abuse us,
Well, that's true. And when I set up aside business development time, I told my wife one day, I said, okay, I gave her my schedule. I said, Monday through Friday, from 8 to 11, and Tuesday from noon to 5. And this day, she goes, what? You're not going to see patients? I'm like, no, I'm going to work on the business. I have things I need to do. And it's more important for me to work on the business. I have 5 providers. They're here for a reason. I trust them. They're going to take good care of it. So it was an act of faith, quite honestly, to be able to implement something like that. And it's unbelievable, because I also learned that I couldn't be in the office because I'd get pulled. Oh, I can need this done and need this done. It's like, no. And for me, I need to go to my little happy place of being able to just focus. And I have something that's really valuable that most people can't do. I can turn my hearing aids off. I have a 75-80% loss of hearing. I got silence. So it's really great because I can just be inside of myself. There's no background noise. There's no interferences. And I'll go somewhere where I can just have some coffee and I can just really focus. So I take advantage of my disadvantage, but it's really nice, and you don't have to focus on other things. I can really focus on my task. And in the Trello board, I have a couple of them. One is just for the business, and one is I call it my honeydew list. And so I actually write all the things down so I don't forget what my wife wants me to do. But it's also the little things that I need to do for myself personally, taking time for myself, and just having those little times to, take care of myself as well. And I think that's what a lot of business owners don't do, is they don't take care of themselves. They use and abuse their bodies and their brains, and they're exhausted. They get frustrated. They go on medication, anti-anxiety, antidepressants, and
Yep.
things like that. And no thanks.
Trying to bandage up the symptoms, instead of the root cause.
Yeah.
And that's
exactly right.
Like the book Atomic Habits, like he says that, like, I'm paraphrasing here, but basically we don't rise to our goals, we fall to our base level systems.
Yeah.
And, like,
I agree with that
we build around ourselves, like changing our habits, changing our business, all that stuff. It's not about willpower. It's not about you need to be better. It's not about, shame on you for not doing things right or what you're doing wrong. It's about what systems do you have in place that are helping you just simply function the way that you need to function, so you can provide value to your business and scale and grow and do it properly. And also it comes down to your team as well. If they're floundering, if they're all over the place, well, what guardrails do they have around them? What systems do they have around them to help them succeed? And you hit something so powerful. You were just talking about how, blocking off that time and saying, I'm putting my stick in the mud here.
Yeah.
Drawing the line in the sand. I'm going to see less patients. That's like brings up terror in people, right? You think about that. It's like, I can't see less patients. Like, we need to pay the bills. We need to do this.
Right.
Also, going to medical school and all of that, like, you're taught to be the clinician.
Right.
If I'm not the clinician, then who am I? Am I going to lose my skills? Am I going to get rusty? Am I going to, all these things come up, right? All these fears. And am I going to be able to find a provider to be able to come and make up for that loss and Well, look what happened. You did that. You drew the line and you said, no, I'm making sure that I have time set aside. I'm going to focus. I'm going to put these things in place. And then here we are, not even a year later, and you doubled your revenue.
Yeah.
And more than doubled your team. You've added 10 employees. Yeah. I mean, we have to combat that fear. But the thing is, where the challenge is that how many times have so many of us invested in something that, it's been like a shiny box with a turd in it, like,
you're right. Yeah.
Not to be crass, but like, people are really good at marketing and they don't provide value on the back end and actually give you the tools to execute. So it makes sense that fear is there. But the reality is that we have to overcome that fear, grab a hold of something that does work, and then set aside the time to do it. Otherwise, it will never change. And
that's
I think
so true.
To kind of wrap that thought up, like, because for you, didn't like a month go by and you kind of didn't really get rolling on things, and then you kind of have that moment where you're like, okay, what am I going to do? Am I going to stay where I'm at, or am I going to actually use this program I bought?
Yeah, I think there's a lot of procrastination sometimes with things, and I think it's just because you get so focused on what you're doing, and I think from there was some just definitely kind of put myself in a position where I just I did certain things and I got away from the program, and because we started getting busier, and but I was going back in the same routines. I started we started learning what to do with COVID, and I was starting to implement some of the thought process of the program. It's amazing how quickly it doesn't take for you to get out of whack, and so by taking this time, and you're right about that, Hunter. I think the people need to do that for themselves. I take 3 or 4 hours a day in a very very important part of our week. Every day, just about, I do not work a full day in the clinic anymore. And I think that's a big thing, where before, 6 days a week, 8 to 6, easy, that was just seeing patients. And then, and it was hard because I think I was putting stress on my staff because they had to stay later away from their families. So it wasn't just me affecting my family, it was me affecting them and their families too. Yes. So that they didn't appreciate that more. I worked every Saturday, from 8 till 3, seeing patients. And so it just, now I work one Saturday a month for about 4 hours. And so I backed off on that. So I think the key is just in being very focused in those timeframes, just really have an agenda of what I need to do with that. In my Trello board, I'm like, okay, what's top of mind? What is the first thing that I need to focus on? And I go right through that list, and I don't get sidetracked. I don't look at my, I don't do Facebook and things like that during those times. That's my business development time. What am I working on? And you have to set aside that time, dream. And again, I think the majority of the people that are in your entrepreneurs, you need to be able to have your dream time. You need to think about your business and where is the business going and how do we focus on how do I make my business better? Are you thinking about your employees and how are my employees doing? And focusing on time to be able to just sit down and talk with them. I did that. I started doing some of that, and I would sit down with them and they were almost shocked that I was doing that. What did I do wrong? They were concerned they did something wrong. And I'm like, no, you didn't do anything wrong. I want to see how things are going. And now that's become a common interest. Before I always was focused on what I had to do. I came in, I blew in like a tornado and I blew out of there. And it was just like, well, that's just Dan. And I think it's not the way. I'm taking more time to really enjoy it. And you have to remember, how many seasons do we have to do this? And what are we missing along the way? And I think that's where, just kind of the structure of that has a lot to do with what the mission of this whole program has been, is to remember the most important things in front of you might be gone, like kids or just life in general. I mean, I'm 47 now, and I think about, how many, we're never guaranteed anything. Right. And we see young people die every day. And so I think it's important to remember that. We get so lost in the shuffle of stuff to make this grandiose thing. When in reality, when we die, I work with a lot of people who live in assisted livings or memory cares. When they're at a certain point where they don't remember anything and they don't even know their own name, what did all of that mean? So I think that's really important to me.
Yeah. Amen.
Yeah,
for sure. It is. It's, our children, especially, it's like we get 18 summers with them,
It's just,
they're out doing their thing.
Didn't mean to go heavy on that one, but
yeah. No,
but it's just an awareness factor, because I have done that in my life. I have gotten to a point where I was, my wife, she's just so gracious. And, as an entrepreneur, just start thinking, I'm going to go to this. I'm going to go to this. I'm going to go to Austin and do this. I'm going to go over here and do this. And when we did the South Carolina thing, I said, hey, are you on board with this? Or this is my thoughts. This is my ideas. And I would set the tone and I would say, look, let's just dream a little bit, because I need you to see me for where I'm at. And that's important, that we as entrepreneurs, we need to be appreciated for our crazy thoughts and our ideas and things that we have in regards to that, because, I'm a fixer. And so something I just started doing this week, I implemented whenever somebody comes to me for something, as the owner, as the leader, I sit there and ask, they tell me their issues. I'm like, so what I've started doing is, okay, do you want me to listen or do you want me to fix it? Because they automatically go into the fixing mode. And I'm like, okay, I'm going to take care of this. Let's go. So I add it to my list. And a lot of times I'm realizing that I just need to listen. I don't need to fix it. They're going to fix it, but they just want me to listen. I'm just grown. I think, again, the program has just been so beneficial. I actually, in the practice that I started in South Carolina, I've been implementing little pieces of this to the doctor that I'm working with, the ear, nose, and throat doctor. And I'm going to implement the program in his business as well. So I'm going to add him to the team, is what my goal is, because any business like he has needs something like this for structure and just keeping his team on board. And they have no policies, they have no job descriptions, they have no manual, they have nothing. And so going into that, it's like they have, let's just say there was 20 appointments and 19 of them had no purpose for why a patient was coming in for a visit. They had no insurance information. All they had was date of birth. That's not quite the way to run a business, quite honestly. So we're working on that.
Yeah. And look at you now, like here you went from saying, I don't have any of these skills or business sense. Now
I'm teaching someone else.
Yeah. You're going to be able to go and you have the tools. And this is, in like 9 months, 8 months time.
July. Yeah.
You now have
7
tools. Yeah. 7 months, even less. Yeah. You have the tools, the framework, the know-how to be able to go in and say, here are the problems. Here's how we fix it. Here's how we
know what it is. It's also, in the one word, is confidence. There's a confidence in knowing what you know, because if you follow the program, and maybe it doesn't all make sense, and maybe there's things that you're not quite sure of, but just getting into the calls and talking with others and asking this, I'll say, hey, I'm going to ask a stupid question. Everybody's been great about answering those questions and helping when there was those times when I really wasn't sure what needed to be stated or done. It's okay to feel like you're stupid and you don't know and scared. And there's nothing, sometimes is the innocence of that is the best thing of all, because you're right. Because, in July, when I talked to you and I talked to Tim, I was like, okay, well, I'm not confident in anything. Scared of my own shadow.
Mhm.
Not really, but it's just a theory of business wise of just being scared to death and making a decision that is going to put us in a bad position. Just to look at, oh gosh, we're living paycheck to paycheck to pay our staff, and
Yep.
now to go, wow, payroll is good. We got savings, and we're really gotten a point of just understanding and make those important decisions and putting away and tithing and focusing on your priorities. What's number one in your list, and just keeping people on track of that. And we were big believers in the tithing thing, and you got to remember where it's supposed to go and keep track of those things, because money comes and money goes, at the end of the day. But I just feel like we've been really blessed in our business to really just keep focus on what's the most important thing, and
Right.
regardless of religions or beliefs or anything like that, we just always put God in our forefront personally,
Yep.
and it really has made a tremendous difference for our business. And I think the key is you just have to make time for yourself, right, wrong, or indifferent. You have to do that for your family and your loved ones and yourself, and you really have to take care of yourself. You
Yep.
really can't do this without just, where are you at? Where is the individual? You're only as strong as the individual, and if people see that, people aren't dumb. They can
And I
see
love
right
that
through.
you talked about your team and doing this like one-on-one meeting with them and really just saying like, hey, how are you doing?
Well, you guys
Like
came up
that,
with it.
right?
But I think the key is just, when we've seen staff, not doing well, you can just sense something wrong.
Mhm.
It just means a lot, to pull them aside and say, what's going on? What's happening? What are
Yep.
you dealing with? Are you struggling with? Is it personal? Is it work? Is it, if it's work, well, talk about it. If it's personal, do you need a day off? Do you
Right.
need some mental health day? Something that would go just focus on that, because
Right.
it just gives more of like, we actually care about them instead of they're just numbers. And I worked in corporate, and when you work in corporate, nobody matters. And in a lot of corporate worlds, they're just a number, and it's just not enjoyable. So when we just hired last person, I used some of the questions from interview questions that you guys worked on, and it was just kind of cool. I just said, lady, we're going to treat this like a 90-day trial period. We're gonna see how this works for you, because we want it to be a good fit for you, and we want it to be a good fit for us, and
Yep.
we're going to work with you the entire way. And it just was great. And I've never hired somebody on the spot like I did that. Usually it goes to my wife and some of the team. Nope, I hired her on the spot, and it was just, again, just feeling confident. I can't tell you, just having interview questions, and I said, wow, these are good questions. And I just really appreciate the tools that you give, and just got to use them, and you got to feel comfortable with using them, and implementing them as you go along. So I owe it all to the program, because it's given me a lot of confidence, and my wife confidence, and now it's giving my team confidence, and then I can start sharing that with others. And this is another avenue. I've also just started doing a new online coffee and audiology, just answering 3 questions about things about our field that I feel is necessary, and basically just getting the word out to educate people about all the misinformation about our field. And I'm excited about that. So I just released my first video a couple days ago, coffee and audiology, and so it's just starting, right? But I'm excited. I've done 3 other ones, and the goal is to be able to have just people be educated and ask questions for things like that. So
Yep.
it's just another element. It's been on my heart for a long time, and it's like, you just got to do it. Get the camera, get the phone, or get the microphone and the lighting and whatever,
Yeah.
and you know what? Just do it. Because if we sit there and procrastinate, and I think that's another big factor, is a lot of people end up just procrastinating because they're going to get to it. They're going to get to it. Well, I was thinking I was going to do this stuff when I was 40. That was 7 years ago.
Right.
And you keep doing 7 years at a time, pretty soon I will be an old guy, and I will not be, right. Don't delay. And my big thing with this in my forum here is, with the initial expense of getting started with this program, it's worth every penny of it. Do not ever fret. Do not even worry about it. You're going to go, dang it, I should have done it 10 years ago.
Mhm.
And I'm excited about what you guys are doing. You're doing such a great job, and you're a great forum hunter. You do a great job of what you do as well. I sincerely appreciate what you bring to the table. You're awesome.
Man, thank you.
You're welcome.
Make me feel good about myself, man.
Hey,
Thank you.
you should. You should. An amazing program, and people need to be aware of that. And especially in this time when people are businesses and struggling and failing and dying out, that if they had heard about this information prior to COVID or whatever is going on for them personally, they may not have been in this position.
Mhm.
And so that's why I just say, I'm very grateful that we came across this program, because it very likely saved us in more ways than one. And I think that's the key is it's not just about an implementation of a program. It's about, like I said before, creating that foundation to give us a chance to be able to have ourselves be successful, but not just my wife and I, my kids. It's about the 16 people that I have on board and their families and their children and giving them a chance at a better life. And I'm excited about that because I want them to do more. I want them to have more opportunities and bonuses and being able to do things where they get paid more. I mean, there's nothing more makes me happier to give them a better chance in life and do better than personally is giving them the programs, the ideologies that you guys have come up with and trying to implement them in the business and saying, okay, well, I don't know, let's try this. And, and it's just great because again, those are the bits and pieces of implementing different things and just saying, well, let's see how this goes. And that's what's so exciting to me is just, you got that leap of faith and just believe that you're doing the right thing. And when I first watched this, when I was deciding about whether to do it or not, I was like, all the things he's saying is right on. And he says it in ways that are just very practical. It's not complicated. It's not big formulas and crazy things. It's like, all right, start this. And you start doing, they go, wow, the Loom videos and just doing things to be able to do it once and not, okay, what was that? Where was that? What did you say about this? And where was that form? It's like, no, gosh, we're going to do a video. It's right here. You watch it whenever you want. And you do it one time instead of 6 times,
Right.
So it's just great. You guys are awesome.
When I want to, it's maybe something to lean into because, you're in the healthcare field. My wife and I, we're in the mental health field, and that's what we do, personally, our own business. And we've got chiropractors and, orthopedic people and, functional medicine guys and gals and what have you. So we've got quite a few people in the healthcare field, but I get on calls and a lot of times it's this fear, I think, and I don't know, maybe you have some insights into this is, well, I'm in the healthcare field, so therefore my business is different. And I don't think that this is going to work for me like it would for somebody who, like Tim, truck body manufacturing, right?
Right.
Could you speak to that a little bit? Like, how have you seen this really work for you? And what would you say to somebody in the healthcare field as well that's like, man, my business is different. How's my clinic going to function if this is, somebody that built this has a manufacturing company, right? What do you think there?
Well, I think it challenges you to think about how to change what you do. I mean, you talk about mental health and you talk about audiology and how they correlate. There's a huge correlation because there's a lot of individuals out there that have gotten lost in the shuffle because they're afraid to go out. They're wearing masks. They can't hear. They can't read lips. And we're seeing there's a huge correlation between depression, anxiety, and hearing loss, and people who just completely are just lonely and afraid. So, doing a lot of these, with Zooms and different things where a lot of the manufacturers now have where we can adjust our hearing aids. We can actually call their cell phone at the comfort of their home. We can actually adjust our hearing aids now through the cloud, the internet, through all of this, and being able to adjust our hearing aids out whatever coming in. So I think from the implementation aspect of it, it's just, really just wanting better for your business and just being able to implement things. And no matter what the industry, yeah, you're right. I mean, when I first saw the spreadsheet about, just understanding your numbers and it was parts and units and, things, I'm like, well, this doesn't apply to me. But I think you just want more. If you want better organization, and that's our biggest problem is not being more organized in our life in general. And I think with medical, one of the biggest problems, again, we just don't have business sense. And I'm not speaking for everybody, right? That's not fair to, but there's a lot of people in our industry. We do not go to school for businesses. Few of us, especially in audiology, and I'm sure in many other medical, they're not run. And that's why a lot of medical offices are going to hospitals. And that's why hospitals are snapping up the private sector because they don't know how to run their business, and it's just easier to go work for them because they don't have to stress and worry. And I think if a lot of the medical professions would take the time to realize that, do you like working for corporate or would you prefer to keep your own business? And I think when they implement that into their I have a heart for this program in a bigger scale because I think that we can find a lot more private sector keeping their businesses. And we just saw one that we were a part of for a couple of years. We worked inside of them and we were busy. We became busier than they were, and they were a medical practice and I could tell it was run poorly. And now they were bought out by a major insurance, United Healthcare. And
Mm.
they're totally work for them now. And I asked the doctor, and he said, well, why did you do that? He goes, I don't have to stress anymore. I don't have to worry about the payroll. I don't have to worry about this. I don't worry about that. And I said, but what about your business? Your name's on this thing. What do you feel? What do you think about that? He goes, I don't want to deal with it anymore. It's too much. And I went one step further, and I said, what if you had a better business model set up, and you had a better setup in payroll and everything about your business? Do you think that would have been different? He says, well, maybe so. I don't know. I just thought I was doing what I was supposed to be doing, my accountant, this and that. I said, but did you ever feel like you were really in charge of your own business? He goes, no.
Yep.
And I left him kind of puzzled and shaking his head, like he just, you probably like, why did I do this, type of thing. But I think that's the key, is you just have to really look at your business and say, am I running on all cylinders? And that's the critical component of just being able to, no matter what field you're in, this program works for any type of business. If you have a business and you do something with people or selling something or anything, there's a purpose of this business for every single person, because realistically, there's not one area where I go, well, I wish they would do this. It covers everything. I don't know if that answers your question, but that's,
it does.
Yeah.
It has to have a holistic approach, right? Because nothing happens in isolation. What happens on the left always influences what happens on the right. And so we have to look at the full picture. How does the systems influence culture? How does the culture influence client interaction and results and their experience? And, what's going on with finances? And do people feel empowered? Do they feel like they're part of a team and part of plugged into the mission and the vision? Like it's all connected.
Yeah. And being willing to change. If something's not working, you don't just keep doing the same thing over and over again. You got to be willing to say, you know what, this isn't working. And I think that's why I really love the quarterly meetings, because, with my staff of 4 that we have an audiology lead, we have a front office lead, and my wife and I come together and say, what worked well? What didn't work well? Let's look backwards, let's look at the present, and let's look at the future. And I think when you do that, you retrospectively look at that, and you start making changes and be willing to make those changes and not be afraid. And I think that's the key of,
listening. Your eyes are open, seeing, you're iterating, you're improving, and you're using the team to make those improvements. It's not just you dragging the whole ship forward by yourself anymore.
Yeah, and I've done that. And then I know what to do. I'm going to implement this. And it's like, what do you think? And what do you think? And let's pull this out. And all right, I like that idea. Let's run with it. Let's see what happens over the next 90 days. And then when we get back together again, we'll see how does that work. And when they do that, you can see them kind of puff up a little bit, and they get excited that we're going to do something that you think I do. And it's exciting to see people just develop a leadership role. And in the 7 months since we've really implemented this program, technically my second, I only had 2 quarterly meetings, but I'm seeing a development in the characters that are involved in my staff, my leadership team, just developing a leadership. I'm seeing my wife develop more leadership. It's amazing how it affects people and their personality, not just a program, but it's a confidence builder to get individual people, that next level of, hey, I'm important here. I have something to say, and we're listening, like you said, and we're implementing their ideas. And it's just like, I want everybody around me to be smarter than me and better at what I do than me, because that makes my job easier. Surround yourself with great people, with great programs such as this platform.
Yeah. And that's really it. I mean, it's about empowering your team, right? And
it truly is.
Like you talked about, like being able to separate out, step away from, I think we all kind of get a little bit of ego tied into what we're doing and feel like we have to do everything, and it's all on us, and it's all or nothing, and it's just not true. And if somebody's a clinician and they want to see patients all day long, all power to them. Like there's nothing wrong with doing that. It's just, do we need to slow down so that we can speed up? Move fast, right? We talk about that all the time. It's like, do you need to step back for a minute? Maybe just 2 months where you step back and we fix this stuff so that you can go. You have the team handling all these things, so that if you want to be the clinician full time, then you can be, and you don't have to worry about all this stuff that's going on, right?
It's just wonderful. That's one of the key components of the program, and just being able to listen to that and actually do it.
Mhm.
two totally different things. And I think you're right about that, because when I told my wife, I said, all right, you're taking business development time, she looked at me like I had three eyes on my head. And I'm like, no, you need to focus. And
Mhm.
because we have to slow down. What are we focused on? And just break it all down in front of you,
Mhm.
because where are we at with this? And look at each component of the business. Where are we going with this? What's our strengths and what's our weaknesses? And then when we address them, it's like, wow, we're speeding up. And I have to say that, we've only been doing our other business for 1 month, and we're already talking about another staff, another provider, a second provider, as well as another front office person, and doing it remotely for one of the people.
Right.
And then the doctor that I'm working with, he said, because there's two of them there, he said, I'm thinking about bringing another provider on. And I'm thinking about doing this. I said, okay, let's get the processes and protocols down first. Let's get your foundation settled. And he goes, well, do you know how I can do that? I might know.
I might have an idea.
Right.
Well,
So,
it comes down to focus too, right? Like, there's this
yeah.
whole thing. You've probably seen this before,
Yep.
but it's
Yep.
like, if we're going in all these little different directions, like we're not really getting anywhere. We're just like staying right here.
Yep. And
And
that was me in a nutshell.
yeah, and we've got to be able to,
Yeah. Yeah.
consolidate. And it doesn't mean that these things don't need to be done. It's just,
No,
if
they
we're doing
don't.
this, then we're not getting anywhere. We need a team to be able to help us.
Yeah. And you're right about that, because those individuals are caught in that cycle where everything has to come to them and everything goes out from them.
Mhm.
They if they don't ever get that, they will only be as good as what they are, and they'll be so much smaller. And I think you have to think long term and think, if you go to that bottom picture where everything comes in, but you're not getting bogged down in the processes,
Yep.
then you're so much more effective. Your business will be so much better. You'll be so much more productive with time. And not only that, you'll feel better internally about
Yep.
the fact that, look what I've accomplished. But yeah, I'm going home. I used to feel guilty if I didn't go, if I ever went home before dark. I
Yep.
mean, it was like, I've not had a good day. I mean, I need to go back and work. And my wife's like, oh my God, you're ridiculous, and so forth. And now it's like, I'm okay with it, because I know that I was up early. I was working on things. I put in my full day before people virtually almost wake up. But I think it's more structured and it's more focused. And
Yep.
when you give yourself that, it makes it much better. And that's why now I have the doctor in South Carolina, my partner, that I said, okay, did you set up your business development time yet? Yep, I did. And it's today. He's working on his business development stuff today. So you just have to really focus on, no matter what position you're in, to really be able to just follow through the program and really being able to make sure, because where I see us going with our business is continual growth and expansion. There's another business development. There's a third business we're looking at, probably starting the next year. And it's kind of exciting, because it just really, when you implement something, and all of a sudden it makes it easy, because you've implemented you take, don't reinvent the wheel. The wheel's been developed. Tim and the team and you guys have all put this together. And then once you develop it to your own formula, it's like all of a sudden you can just do the same thing over and over and over again. Your life gets easier and easier. You look so intelligent, so smart about what you've done, but you've given the platform and given the confidence. And I think that's the key, is just, really honing in on these skills that you guys have given us. It's a true blessing of what you guys have been able to do to really help, really nurture everybody, no matter what their situation is, no matter how silly their questions might be, or might feel like you guys act the same. I mean, you're like, hey, we're going to figure this out. And Tim is he's a genius with this, I have to say.
Hmm. This has been an amazing conversation. And, it's funny because I have like this whole sheet of questions, right? And I
I'm
didn't look
sorry.
at this like all but one time.
I'm sorry.
No. And I prefer that. I mean, it's just been such a powerful conversation. And I swear to everybody listening, I didn't give these to Dan before the call. I
No,
didn't pay him to say anything.
I
Just,
actually said, I don't know what your format is. Can you let me know your format? And he said, no, I hit record and ask you some questions. And we didn't
yep.
really do that. So but I just, you
Nope.
know what, I just have to say that I thank you guys for what you do, because it's confidence. There was never a time I feel more confident behind a camera, because we do that for our company and our business.
Mhm.
Doing videos, I could never have ever believed in my life. Being hearing impaired, 75, 80% hearing loss, You know, I hid behind my dad when he would make the phone calls, and I would listen to him do phone calls growing up. And he says, son, you need to learn how to do this, because I had zero confidence ever doing something like this. And I never would have asked, I would never want to do it. But life has changed me. But I will say that the confidence that I have now, I really want to take this level and help others to really become confident in themselves, to say, okay, you don't know the answers. It's okay. Because we got a system and a plan. You know, all you have to do is implement it to what it is that you need. And sometimes that's the big step. You can buy into the program, but if they're not sure what they should do with their own business, you just got to learn how to implement it, ask questions, and work with this team and the staff. And it just gets easier and easier. It really, really does.
Well, Dan, I just want to thank you again. And
Yes.
this has been such a pleasure to circle back. I mean, I feel like July was just yesterday. It's gone by so fast.
Yeah.
But to be able to circle back and chat with you and see what's happened in just half a year is really such a blessing to me. And just, I mean, this is why we do what we do. It just gets us out of bed in the morning, you know, and there's always challenges with everything. But
no, you guys have to remember, even though you may be going through the things you always do every day, businesses that have been associated with this program are growing, they're developing, they're learning. With your continual programs and doing this every week, and the things that you guys do all the time, and the videos that Tim puts out, it's changing the world one business at a time. So thank you for what you guys have done. I thank you for the time to be able to share my story, my little element of all the businesses that can probably say the same thing and greater and less, and saw some of the other successes that I've seen recently with some of them. It's just awesome. And I'm happy for every businesses that have taken the principles that you're teaching and taking it to the next level. It's unbelievable. And so, you know, if you put the time, the dirty work, elbow grease, you're going to make some big stuff happen. So it's a pleasure. It's all mine, quite honestly. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. You know, my brother lives down there in Arizona now. So when I get down there to visit, we'll have to connect.
Let me know if you come out here. I'd be happy to meet with you.
For sure. I will for sure. Well, Dan, thank you. I will let you carry on with your day.
Okay. Thank you so much. I appreciate you guys, and keep up the great work. You guys are changing the world, and I'm so excited. And, you know, I just encourage people across the board. If you come across the videos, do not hesitate. Get into the program. The quicker you do it, the more your life will turn around. You have more family time, the businesses will thrive, and you personally will feel better, and you probably have better health from getting on board of this program. Don't wait. Get on board right away. Thanks so much, Hunter.
Thanks, Dan.
You're welcome. Have a good day.